Just- So yeah, tell us your name and your occupation and the business or businesses you own.
Okay, so my name is Jonathan Ruga,
Okay.
and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of a company called Sentry Financial Corporation. We focus on providing equipment financing to large companies.
Do you have any advice that you would give to up and coming entrepreneurs, businessmen?
Really give thought to what is really important to you. What do you really want to do? And so that takes an assessment of what your skills are, because you tend to like what you're good at. You do that which you're passionate about. So, when you're young, that you oftentimes don't know that, so you have to explore. But after you've done some exploration, then one, I think, key element of advice is don't select a career path just because you think it will pay you the most money. That's very short-sighted. I do think it's important to know who you are and what you're good at, and then focus on that in an entrepreneurial environment, knowing that if you're this capable now, you probably with a little effort can be this capable. What your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And then when you are faced with opportunities, you can assess them in light of what you have described as your strategic planning process. So now, because you've gone through a planning process, you're more knowledgeable about what you can and can't do and what you should and shouldn't do. I was able to learn what I was passionate about through some fortuity and some trial and error. What you really want to do every day you get up, you want to be excited about what you're doing.
Do you have certain strategies for networking when you're meeting new people?
So if I'm in a business setting, then absolutely you've got to do your homework, and you have to know who you're going to meet and why you're going to meet with them and what you can provide for them and what they can provide for you. But if it's a social setting, it's very different.
Say, is there a strategy that you use or perhaps used when you first wanted to remember certain people's names?
Very common is to repeat it. Ben, I'm Jonathan Ruga. Pleased to meet you. If you're introduced to 10 people within 15 seconds, that's a little harder to do, but many times you'll say, okay, well, this is Ben, this is Fergie, this is Scott, this is Kirk, and then you're making that imprint. In a more formal business setting, getting business cards, and what I do is I line them up on my folder or my part of the conference table or whatever as they're seated.
Yes.
So then when I'm addressing them, I'm making contact, et cetera, and then that solidifies that. So, it's important to not just be introduced to people, but to remember who they are and understand who they are.
You're a great speaker, phenomenal speaker. How did you become such?
Being successful in anything, Ben, is practicing. And sometimes it's just natural. You're not thinking about the fact that I've got to practice this, but you just are in situations where that is naturally occurring. So, for example, when I have to give presentations, I prepare. And in many cases, not all, but in many cases, if it's a speech in front of a number of people, then you can ask my family how many times they get sick of hearing the speech before I'm making it. You've got to read. That's just one of the virtues that exists in our world today. You can learn a lot about a lot of different things through that kind of exploration.
So we've both heard the expression "dress to impress" and what that carries. Would you say that there's a perfect attire when selling?
Understand your audience and dress in accordance with the objectives you seek to achieve with that audience. You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. But appearance is just the first screening.
Yes.
And then you get more to the substance. but don't diminish the ability to make a good first impression.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about some of the troubles you've experienced through Sentry, and more specifically, the lessons you've learned from those troubles?
One is that if you work hard and you work together, that you can overcome all challenges. Not one person can do it. You know, one person can have a material and substantial effect and role, but it takes a team of people to march through challenging circumstances and end up in a positive place. You know, you've got to care about other people. And so if you really do that, I mean, there are some life philosophies that, you know, you can't just separate business from life, right? I mean, it is all part of the same thing. And so if you're going to be doing good things, then it's, my view is much more likely good things are going to happen to you. So that isn't the reason to do good things, but it may very well be the consequence. We should all look beyond ourselves and determine how we can positively impact others.
Would you say there are myths in business to be aware of?
So when you see a deal or some opportunity that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. In other words, it probably is a scam. The general rule is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, and therefore it's not true. So don't do it. Don't participate in it.
In closing, would you say you have anything else that you'd like to give?
As much as a person knows, whoever the smartest person and the most knowledgeable person in the world is, knows a thimble of the available knowledge. Know your limitations. Know what you don't know so that you can fill that void.